right, everybody, welcome to BO Boys for Sunday, March 23rd. Fuck it, it's a raw feed. We're doing it live in studio.
You're Clayton, I'm Pat. Okay, so I had to take care of that, but it's all right. This show will
They know
it'll
who
work
I
out.
am.
They're still learning what they know, but they don't know if they love you.
They know this punum.
So it was a bloodbath this weekend. I mean,
Bloodbath.
Let's just say it was a total bloodbath and a shit show. It was a shit and blood everywhere in the theater. It was a disaster. And I'm just stating that up top.
Wow, somebody's
Hey,
overreacting.
Hey guys, we are YouTubers. Hey guys.
Hey guys.
And I don't lie to my YouTube followers. This was a bloodbath. Right into camera, I said it. So with that in mind, can you give us a plow, Clayton, for this bloodbath shit show weekend of Friday, March 21st, 2025?
Number one. Disney's Snow White made $43 million in its first weekend of release. Number two, Black Bag made $4.4 million, down 42%. It added 8 theaters. It's at $14.8 million in its second weekend of release. Number three, Captain America Brave New World made $4.1 million, down 28%. It lost 350 theaters. It's at $192.1 million in its sixth weekend of release. Number four, Mickey 17 made $3.9 million, down 48%. It lost 1,223 theaters.
Wow.
It is at $40.2 million in its third weekend of release. Number five, Novocaine made $3.7 million, down 57%. It added 4 theaters. It's at $15.7 million in its second weekend of release. And we're still going. Number six, a newbie. The Alto Knights made $3.1 million in its first weekend. And number seven, The Day the Earth Blew Up, a Looney Tunes movie by Ketchup Entertainment, made $1.8 million, down 42%. It lost 124 theaters. It's at $6.4 million in its second weekend of release. And that is your lucky number 11.
I mean, I know we usually in these episodes we build up towards the big story, so it would be like, oh, let's start at number 8 and what happened there. I think we go right into it.
The Alto Knights.
We got to go into it. The Snow White.
Oh.
Disney's Snow White.
What?
We got to do it. Up top, because I set the stage that this is a bloodbath weekend, and to me, this is the reason for it.
Wow.
$43 million for Disney's Snow White. Clayton, I'm just going to say this sentence. Disney's Snow White made less in its opening weekend than the Dumbo remake. It made less than Dumbo. $2 million less than Dumbo.
Okay.
You don't seem fazed by this. You seem like this was expected. This is not that bad. This is not a disaster. Snow White making $2 million less, not even accounting for inflation, than Dumbo, than the 50-minute elephant short being stretched out to a full live-action movie. Snow White, one of the most iconic princesses. This is a princess movie. And it opened to $43 million, and you seem unfazed. Could you explain that? Explain your demeanor right now.
Mufasa, $35 million opening. Mufasa, $35 million opening. And where are we now? Let's see. Let's go down the chart.
Okay, you're going to tell me.
$253 million domestic.
Did Snow White this past weekend open against a juggernaut kids movie, Sonic the Hedgehog Part 3? Because that is what Mufasa was dealing with in its opening weekend. It was opening against a kids juggernaut.
No, it opened up against a red-hot Ketchup Entertainment's The Day the Earth Blew Up.
I mean,
Looney Tunes movie, weekend 2, huge momentum,
okay.
down only 42%.
But now could you
losing
go one
only
step further?
124 theaters in its second weekend.
Only,
this thing is burning up the charts.
Listen, and go to the last episode of the BO Boys Classic app. Of course, we delved into how Ketchup Entertainment is scamming in a good way Zaslav to get the Looney Tunes IP in full. But as much as we credit Ketchup Looney Tunes for that whole scam, this Looney Tunes movie is, what did it make? $1 million this past weekend? $1.5 million? It's not Sonic the Hedgehog 3. So don't give me.
It made 1.8.
Don't give me.
Have some respect.
Don't give me. What about Mufasa only making $35 million? It opened up against Sonic 3 that what? Opened at $70 million that weekend?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Looney Tunes, in the day the earth blew up, did not make $70 million this weekend. So don't give me Mufasa opening weekend as a counter. This Snow White opening to $43 million with no competition.
Yeah.
In the kids space.
Now, obviously, this is terrible. This is terrible.
This is terrible.
Yeah, this is terrible. It's so terrible that Anthony D is for Die Hard Disney.
Mm-hmm.
Alessandro.
Mm-hmm.
He even is coyly admitting that it is bad.
Mm-hmm.
But he goes on to say that on the bright side,
of course he has a bright side. Of course.
It's better than other controversial laden movies such as Warner Brothers' Catwoman, which made 16.7.
Well, okay.
Joker. Wait. Let me finish. Let me finish his thoughts. These are his thoughts, not mine.
Jesus.
Joker Folie à Deux, 37.6. So this kids movie made more than Joker Folie à Deux, which is an R-rated musical.
Musical of 40 standards.
Yes. And even Relativity's very expensive at the time 2012 version of Snow White, Mirror Mirror, which made 18.1. So there is a bright side, Pat. So I think you should always look on the bright side of life, as Monty Python sang.
I
so many times that I'm never want to hear that song again.
I am stunned. Even for a Anthony D is for Demented for Disney D. Alessandro, that he would go so far as to give a on the bright side comparisons of Disney's Snow White to Relativity Media's Mirror Mirror, and to Joker, to Catwoman. Why would you ever say at least a movie did better than Catwoman? Well, Catwoman is one of the most infamous bombs ever. Yes, most movies do better than Catwoman. Why is Catwoman being invoked against Snow White? What is going on here? I'm losing it.
Why?
I'm effing
you are
losing it.
You are
I'm
losing
effing
it.
Losing it.
Why? Can you remember the controversy about Catwoman? Is the controversy that she was a Oscar winner? And this was her next big role.
I think so.
And everybody was upset. That was the controversy?
I think that, I mean, listeners, and of course, for the YouTube audience, commenters, comment below if you could remember what the controversy was for Catwoman, because I think that's it. I think it's just the fact that the controversy was the movie was so bad and she had just won an Oscar. I don't think anything else about Catwoman is controversial other than just the reviews being terrible.
And now, in the light of...
And even Joker Folie à Deux, the controversy is mostly just it's a bad movie.
Yeah.
The first Joker is the one that's controversial because the media let everyone believe that they would be killed in the movie theater if they went to see the first Joker. But Joker Folie à Deux, I think, was just controversial in how annoying the movie was.
Yeah.
And Relativity Media's Mirror Mirror? Is that... Are there Disney execs who right now...
are like...
Hey, don't fire me. You can't fire me.
Look at Relativity's Mirror Mirror.
Look at Relativity.
We smashed that. We destroyed that with one of the most iconic princesses to ever grace the screen. We made a little bit more than Folie à Deux, and we smashed Mirror Mirror.
Is that what...
My job should be safe, and actually, I deserve to get paid more.
I deserve to get... That is what Anthony D is for, out of his goddamn mind, for Disney, D. Alessandro. That's what he thinks that these executives should be saying to Bob Iger this morning. And they should all be in front of Bob Iger.
Yeah.
And Bob Iger should also be in front of Bob Iger because this is also his fault.
Yes. He should call himself out on the carpet.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
He should do an Alto Nights.
He should do an Alto Nights.
The Alto Nights.
The Alto Nights.
Sorry.
Yeah, Bob Iger needs to do a The Alto Nights where he is at a table across from himself, lambasting himself for the opening weekend of Disney's Snow White. I do not see a silver lining at all in this $43 million. And I know, and we talked about it last week, opening weekend, not totally the story with these kids' movies, long tail. There's nothing opening next weekend in the kids' space. Minecraft movie in a few weeks is the next kids' movie, but it's not totally a little girl's movie. I get it. That Snow White will probably have a chance to hold up. But $43 million for a movie with this much awareness is a effing GD failure.
Well, and here's what tells the story more is the cinema score, right? It's got a B+, which everybody, listen, if you're new to the show.
But it's not great.
If you're new to the show, you can't think of these scores as the way you would think of grades you would get in school.
Right.
Because B+ for this sort of movie is bad. It's lower than Dumbo, which got an A-, Mufasa, which got an A-, Pete's Dragon, which got an A, and Maleficent, both of the Maleficent movies got A's, right? So these sort of audiences, they're kids. They're going to be like A. If they like it at all, they're going to give it an A. If they hate it, they're going to give it a B+.
Right. Because also kids don't want to even invoke grades lower than a B+.
Because they're afraid that it's like jinxing them.
Yes. Because
if I give Snow White a D, then
what if I get a D?
What if I get a D?
The universe then gives me a D.
Yeah.
I know how my dad is, and if I get a D, it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
And I don't even want to consider that B+. B+. The kid hated Snow White coming out of it, but does not want to even invoke the idea of a D existing. So he gives it a B+.
And Pat, I know that they're trying to hide musicals in Hollywood. Go to the archives, listen to all our shows about movies that have hid themselves because they're musicals.
Mean Girls, of course.
Mean Girls being the most famous example. Although I knew from the trailers that was a musical because I pay attention.
You knew because you follow the industry and you're in the industry and you knew, but
No.
You didn't know from the trailer. No one knew.
So anyway, did you know that this Snow White movie had songs by the two people who did songs for The Greatest Showman?
I did not know that from the trailer. I did not know that.
Yeah, so you would think that would be something that you could throw out there because that obviously one of the greatest runs a movie has ever made was The Greatest Showman run, where it opened super low over Christmas and then it just built and built and built and built.
Yep. People love those songs.
They love those songs.
Hugh Jackman, and I saw him. I took my mom to him over Christmas because I'm a great son. Took her to see Hugh Jackman on Broadway, and he was doing songs from The Greatest Showman, and people were losing their minds.
Yeah.
People love those Greatest Showman songs. All of those older and elderly and enfeebled women, those are the three levels of audience at the Hugh Jackman Broadway show, would have ran out to the Snow White movie or been wheeled out, whatever situation they're in.
Yeah.
If they knew Greatest Showman songs or by the Greatest Showman writers were in the Snow White movie, but that was not part of this marketing campaign.
Greta Gerwig did a pass of this script. She is noted as one of the writers of this movie. That has not been talked about at all. It's only been talked about on our show.
Yep.
I mean, that could be a Greta thing where she doesn't want anything to do with it, which is fine. That's her right.
Names in the credit. They could say that.
They could exploit that.
Say her name's in the credit.
Yeah. Say from the writer of Barbie.
Well, okay, so the Barbie thing is something I thought about when I was pondering this morning what a disaster the Snow White movie is. And I was thinking about in terms of Barbie. And Snow White is not Barbie.
No.
But Snow White's in a similar boat where the Barbie movie could have been a bomb.
Mm-hmm.
It had a lot of awareness built in. The doll's been around forever, but there is a version of a Barbie movie where if it's not executed well, it could have just came and went
Yeah.
instead of being biggest movie of the year, all-time blockbuster.
Yeah. There was people that were even saying it should be animated. And that's an insane take, and that was crazy.
Take
and,
that
yeah.
you had.
I never
I'll
had
call
that.
you
No,
on the
that was
carpet, go back in the
never had it.
archives.
Never had it.
Go back in the archives. I mean, a lot of that was off air, and it almost led to fisticuffs at BOHQ.
Yeah.
But we got through that period in our lives where you thought Barbie should have been animated and was going to be a disaster.
There's no evidence of that.
So, thinking of Snow White in terms of Barbie,
Mm-hmm.
this Snow White movie, unlike Barbie, didn't do anything to try and make itself special in any way.
No.
In its presentation, in its casting, in any kind of angle. You look at that Barbie movie, there's a version of it that is completely uncreative, and it's an animated movie that it follows the lines of the straight to VHS Barbie, animated shorts you had in the past, or it's a very straightforward adaptation, plays it safe.
Yeah.
Probably does mediocre business. Instead, they really went for it. Interesting filmmaker, big take, great songs.
Yeah.
Went for it in the casting where you got Ryan Gosling and Margot Robbie and Will Ferrell and America and all these people who are interesting people to cast in the movie. And Snow White didn't do any of that. And I know Disney is
Those live
not
action
Warner
movies
Brothers.
don't do those. I mean, that's the thing. This was a by the books live action remake of an animated movie, which they've had much success with previously.
They have, but look at something like our mutual favorite of any of these Disney live action remakes is, of course,
Aladdin.
Aladdin. And the Will Smith factor is a big deal. And I think making that a hit, because he is a star, pre-slap, post-slap, he's a star.
Yeah.
And he did his thing and gave you an interesting angle on that movie.
Yeah.
And I know there's been other ones where they didn't do that. The Beauty and the Beast is a complete nothing, and that made $1 billion. So I get why they wanted to play it safe, but I think we're in a post-Barbie world with these kids' IPs.
Yeah.
And Snow White, I'm not saying it has to be a meta, deconstruction of the Snow White myth.
Yeah.
Is Snow White a myth? Is that one of our great myths, the Snow White myth?
Mm-hmm.
But we talked about it last week with these 7 companions. That was an opportunity to do something.
Yes.
To do something. And we talked about, should you have 7 paisans, Robert De Niro, 7 influencers, Logan Paul, I Show Speed. But cast Jim Carrey. Cast someone who you could promote and say, this Snow White movie has 7 Kevin Harts, something where there is at least some kind of angle that makes this a little more special. Because we're in a post-Barbie world. We're in a post-Sonic world. And I get it. Those are movies. Well, no, Barbie's geared for little girls. They did a Barbie movie where they could have played it safe, and they didn't, and it was the biggest movie of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And this Snow White movie did nothing to have some kind of angle other than it's Snow White. And I think in retrospect, that is the failing. I don't think it's the controversies. I don't think it is anything Rachel Zegler said or didn't say. I think she is, like we said last week, a complete non-factor in the success or failure of this movie. It's the fact that this Snow White movie just had no hook to it at all.
So I was looking at who did the voices of the companions.
Okay.
And forgive me for not knowing almost any of them.
Okay.
The one that stuck out to me as a known entity is Titus Burgess. played Bashful.
Okay.
Now, Titus, obviously really well known for The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably their claim to fame. And that is the only person that I would say has any sort of visibility as somebody you could put out there to promote this movie, which I don't think they
That's a
did.
reach.
Or if they did, it did not reach me.
Yeah, that is a reach. I liked him when I watched the first season of that show before it became unbearable, and he's good on Broadway. I've heard whatever. Seems like a great performer. That is not your hook in terms of casting for a giant movie.
And Magic Mirror has a voice. Patrick Page. Who's Patrick Page? Everybody in America is asking.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody. That's another opportunity. You couldn't have got somebody else to do that?
Right. And it's like you're going with, which we said last week is fine. She looks like the cartoon. Rachel Zegler, who is a nobody, and I'm not saying that in a bad way. You're casting someone who's not going to be the draw in the titular Snow White character.
Yeah.
So you got to go. And I guess, did they think Gal Gadot, Gal Gadot, do you think that in their mind that was the hook? We've cast Wonder Woman as the villain. That's our big casting play. I mean, maybe when they, because this movie, they probably started the ball rolling on this 3 years ago. Is that the thinking? That Wonder Woman as the villain is our big hook? And of course, now when you get to release date, it's like she's barely even someone you could promote anymore. Her star has fallen.
Yeah. Now, there is in the article the reason why people went to see this movie.
Okay.
21% went to Snow White because of Zegler and Gal Gadot.
Okay.
But that's 21% combined.
Yes.
Went because of them. What percentage do you think is Zegler and what percentage do you think is Gadot there? I think they're trying to do some damage control with that percentage because it could be 20%. Yeah, right. 19 for Zegler, 2% for Gal Gadot.
Right. I would bet it's closer to that. I think at this point, Gal Gadot is a near zero draw for this movie.
Now, I'm going to throw out an idea.
Love it.
And this is to talk about this. I mean, the die is already cast. The companions were already cast.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knows where we sit with this. If you really wanted to go for it,
mm-hmm.
What about the companions are voiced by the infamous P Posse, Leo's P Posse.
Okay.
So you got David Blaine is the Magic Mirror. He could be Magic Mirror because he's magic.
Okay.
So he's Magic Mirror. Then you could have Kevin Connolly, as we all know, E from Entourage.
And he's playing it like E.
Yeah.
Which I think is how he plays everything.
He plays everything.
Yeah.
Tobey Maguire, huge.
Yep.
Right? You get him. You make him sneezy or whatnot.
Yep.
You get Jay Ferguson, who was in Mad Men, so he's part of that too.
Okay. Was Vincent Kartheiser in the P Posse?
Well, Lucas Haas was. So you could get Lucas Haas for sure.
Okay. And you could get him for cheap.
Yeah. Yeah, and you could get so
but then you're saying Leo is a sure thing. Is Leo, you think Leo was doing this to get his buddies work?
Well, that would be the plan would be.
Yeah.
You cast the P Posse.
Yeah. Toby,
David
Blaine,
Ferguson, Haas,
E from Entourage,
Connolly.
Yeah.
And they're all sort of, that's the enticement.
Right.
Where and the thing is, you could have DiCaprio voice one of them and not use his real name, but everybody would know it's him. And so if you see the posse doing the the companions.
Yeah.
And then you hear this voice that's like Leo.
He would want to be like, let's call him the dwarves.
He would double down. Well,
yeah.
He'd probably want something worse. But
yeah.
But listen, he doesn't have the pull he used to have.
Right.
So I think if you do that, I mean, listen, Harmony Korine was sort of around that. You could put Harmony Korine in there too, you know? I know
would
he's
get
busy
Harmony
with
Korine.
Edgelord,
Yeah.
doing
Well,
that
he's
sort of
got
stuff.
the Baby Invasion.
Baby Invasion. So
Has
listen,
that charted yet on the top 10? Or has it not come out yet?
it
We may have to devote an episode to Baby Invasion.
well, it's on PVOD at the moment, so
Okay.
you can rent it. So I don't know if it's getting a legitimate release.
Okay.
But so
Email us if you have seen Harmony Korine's Baby Invasion in theaters somewhere. I feel like somewhere there is a movie theater that is illegally showing that at 2:00 in the morning.
So I think that's a way. And then if you get Leo, you get Leo. And if the posse's there, then I think he's going to want to hang.
He's going to want to hang.
Yeah.
Hang in the studio.
Hang in the studio.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I think that was a way you could go too.
Is there, and I know this is a coulda, woulda, shoulda been, these are animated characters.
Yeah.
Is there any chance Disney ponies up and totally recasts, revoices, re-records, re-edits, gets it into theaters for next weekend, a full recasting of the Seven Companions' voices? Again, now we're too far into the process to reanimate them.
No.
They look like what they look like.
Yeah. Whatever that is.
Whatever that is how they look. We are not going to be able to get a Sonic transformation where it goes from Sonic with teeth to Sonic who's cute. That ain't happening. But I think we're sitting here on a Sunday afternoon, recast, re-record on Monday, get the new thumb drives out to the theaters by next weekend with Leo uncredited, but everyone knows, and the P Posse revoicing these Seven Companions. Get it out there by Friday night.
Do it.
Do it. Do it.
So let's look a little bit at
into camera. Do it.
Do it. Let's look at.
Is there anything else? I mean, do you agree with me though that it's like that's the big missed opportunity? Is
You
the
have
casting
seven.
Of the
Yeah, you have seven
comedic
parts.
roles. Seven comedic roles.
I mean, the issue.
The Jim Carrey thing, realistically, a Jim Carrey, a Will Ferrell, a Cat Williams, like that. That's the way I would have gone. Is 7? You get one of these comedians and you do 7 versions of them. And having again loved One of Them Days in the theaters, the great Cat Williams, who called it all years ago. He called it. 7 of him with Snow White. It's a hook. It's something.
Yeah, and the thing
You don't know.
I think also the problem is too is that comedy. It doesn't work in the theater anymore, so you don't have comedy stars the way you used to. Like, I understand Jim Carrey and you want Kevin Hart, and that would definitely be,
Mike Myers is back doing Elon on SNL. Got Mike Myers to do.
But there's just nobody coming up. It's like listen, if they did this 10 years ago, you would have the whitest kid would be voicing the companions, or you would have half the birthday boys doing the companions. But there's just no. Yeah, everybody's making more money just doing TikToks, sketches than being in a motion picture.
Right?
Because they'd be like, I can't be in this motion picture because I have to do all my content for this energy drink.
I mean, Tim Robinson, I think you should leave. There's your modern comedy star that could have been not all the companions. And it's his thing. He's constantly saying something out of bounds, getting frustrated with Snow White that I didn't say that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like there's something. There's something. This Snow White movie, and I guess it's the Gal Gadot thing where they thought that's what it was when they cast her.
Yeah.
And then come opening weekend, she's completely useless in the promotion.
Yeah.
But I think going forward, I don't know how many of these. Do you think Disney, are there any of those Snow White, crusty era Disney properties that they have yet to remake that you think is still possible? Like, that's the other thing is, like, you've said it, the Snow White era cartoons, the kids just do not have the same relationship with them. Are they done with that? Or do you think they are going to do a Steamboat Mickey, Steamboat Willie, anything that old? Or is it now just you remake Moana over and over again, you do a live action Frozen, you're done with the old.
You are. They're doing Tangled. They're doing, they're doing the more modern stuff.
Yeah.
I think
Emperor's New
They-
Groove?
they-
Do you
they-
think Spade gets a payday to do a live action Emperor's New Groove?
maybe, but I don't think that's crusty. That's more in the post-Renaissance.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, of the old crusty stuff, I don't think so.
Is Snow White? So Snow White is the death knell for that era of princesses. This is the end.
I think we'll see a Cinderella again. I think we'll see Cinderella
title.
again, but not a Snow White.
Okay.
I think this is sort of it for Snow White for a very, 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 very long time.
Do we see a CDVSW, a Cinderella?
Whoever wins, we
versus-
lose.
Yeah. Is there a way you could work Snow White in as a cameo in a Cinderella?
Well, it worked
remake?
for Godzilla v Kong. I mean, Godzilla
Right.
was on the wane,
Okay, so a collab.
and then King Kong brought Godzilla back.
Yeah. So maybe that is the cinematic future of Snow White, is she's got to be a collab. She's got to be what Godzilla is for Kong, or the Hulk is within the Avengers series. Like, she's not the star,
Mm-hmm.
but she could float in. And what does she do? She sews with birds or whatever it is that Snow White does. She does that in a supporting role.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't know what Snow White.
or
does.
she's done, or this is the box office burial of Snow White,
I mean,
which is a great title for this YouTube episode. The box office burial of Snow
will
White.
she be outside the gate with Chauncey
Wow.
and Lyle? I mean, is she banging at the gates of Hollywood?
Let me in. Yeah, I think she's got a leg up on them because so much of her IP is still wrapped up in the Disney theme parks business.
Yeah,
In a way that Lyle Crocodile, Chauncey the Bear from Imaginary, they don't have any theme park resonance.
yeah.
Snow White, I think it's an embarrassment for her this weekend what happened at the box office.
Mm-hmm.
She eats shit at the movies and I think is done as a movie star, but she could still show up at the park on Monday and kind of, wag her D around there is a big deal.
Well, we talk about the table of horror icons.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're talking princess table,
Yeah.
does she lose her spot?
Oh, wow.
Like, did she have her spot out of she's grandfathered in
Right.
or grandmothered in? Pardon me. Snow White, the iconic dress, as you said before.
Is the iconic dress.
Yeah. And then this comes out, and all of a sudden, it's like better if this movie had never come out for her
Right.
stature at the table. Like, does she have to then go down a level?
So just talking movies.
Did the princess from The Princess and the Frog take her spot?
Tiana? Is that Tiana?
Not sure. Never saw that movie.
So, and I think in your situation, your age, that would be evidence in
That's a
certain
good thing.
cases if you had seen it. So
Yeah, it's a good thing I don't know that.
if we're talking just in terms of movies, we're not factoring in theme parks. We're not talking, Little Golden Book tie-ins.
Tiana, you're right.
I have nieces, so it's legal for me to know the name of Tiana. So if we're just talking movies and we're talking that table of
Yeah.
the Disney princesses and who's sitting there, at this point, is Moana sitting at the head of this table? I mean, after Moana 1 and then the blockbuster that was Moana 2, it's her and the Frozen sisters.
I think it's still the Frozen sisters until Frozen 3 comes out and we see how that goes.
Or what about the Moana live action remake? I mean, if Moana live action remake comes out next year and that makes a Billy,
Then
Moana's sitting at the head of
Moana's
the
sitting at the
table.
head. Yeah.
but it's Moana, the Frozen sisters, Cinderella.
I think Cinderella's there.
because Cinderella, the live action remake, with Lily James, right? Lily James played Cinderella.
I believe so.
That opened to we talked about last week. I think
70 something.
70 something million.
Yeah.
So she's at the table, and there's no princess in Wreck-It Ralph.
No.
And Ralph, he's
Not
not
a
allowed in, and
princess.
I think at this point there's pending. It's not a Marvin the Martian situation, but I
Yeah.
think he's named in the article.
Yeah.
Ex-
Well, his hard drive is filthy. So I think.
Snow White is serving the food. Snow White is serving the food.
Well, who else are we missing here? Because I do think.
Oh,
that
little Ariel.
Ariel.
Ariel is there.
From Beauty and the Beast, Belle.
And Belle, of course.
Belle
Belle's
is
sitting
there.
at the head of the table. I'm sorry. Belle is at the head of the table.
But I think
I mean, that remake made what, almost $2 billion?
Yeah.
Belle is sitting at the head of the goddamn box office princess's table.
And they were talking about a
Yes,
Princess and the
100%.
Frog. I
It's
think
me.
live action, right? I mean it's been scuttled, but it was being talked about. I think Tiana gets the
Yeah,
seat. I
yeah.
think you got to give Tiana that seat now.
You got it. Tiana's got to be.
If she
you can't say no. You can't. If you're Cinderella, you can't say I don't want Tiana.
Tiana.
You cannot say that. If you're Cinderella, you can't say I do not want Tiana at my table.
Yeah.
You can't say that, Cinderella. Whether you want to or not, don't say that.
Yeah.
So I think she's there, but Belle sitting at the head of the table. Yeah, she's the Frozen sisters. I think are sitting there when Belle walks in the room,
Mm-hmm.
and then they look at each other and they look down and they scoot down a few seats.
Yeah. So let's just look at
Snow
demos
White
real
is serving
quick.
apples. Yeah, she's fucked. She's totally fucked.
14% of the audience between 13 and 17 years old. 24% of the audience was 18 to 24. 23% of the audience between 25 and 34. 38% of the audience 35 plus years old. Diversity demos 45.
What's the gender breakdown? Do you have that?
Yes. Let's see. It was very female skewing at 68%.
Okay, so 32% of the audience are males. I'd love to sort of like get the crosstabs on this. And what is the male audience over 35?
Mm.
And then let's get the male audience over 50, because male audience over 35, that's dads taking daughters to movies. Guardians. Male audience over 50 at Snow White.
Mm-hmm.
That's where it starts to be, you're doing the math. I don't think these are dads, and they're not granddads yet.
Well, let's also keep in mind the camp value of a Snow White.
Okay,
so
there
there
is
is a
camp
camp value. So obviously, you will get the lovers of camp
Yeah.
coming.
Yeah.
But I don't know
want
if
to
that.
just see what the hell is up with these companions for real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do think that the demo breakdown, if you did for certain movies see who are going for the camp value, just ask that question, because they had stuff like Snivel War where they were like, who do you vote for? They're asking people who you vote for, right? Where I come from, you don't talk about religion or politics. Sorry. All right. But they could be like, hey, are you going to see this to have a laugh?
Yes.
Right? Is this camp for you?
Yeah.
And they would say, yeah, it seems campy, so I'm going. I think they should ask that for specific movies.
Yeah. Snow White, there should have been the camp factor. And I mean just seeing what these CGI companions look like.
Now, Pat, I think we do. Obviously, I have this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I would love it to leg out. I'd love it to do well for theaters, obviously, because we're sort of in a barren time right now. It was not good this weekend to see this go low.
Mm-hmm.
It went number 1, so that's good. I get that bonus point. But we'll see how this goes, because Mufasa obviously never going to reach the heights of what The Lion King did, but it did paw out.
Yeah.
So we'll see what the legs. I mean, there's a lot of legs in this movie. There's 7 companions.
Yeah.
So we'll see if it has the legs of 7 companions. I doubt it, but you never know. I think it's the exit polls on this are very low.
Mm-hmm.
Usually, if you're seeing an A cinema score or A-, and then there's a definite recommend that's pretty high, people are just waiting to see this movie.
Right.
That's probably not the case.
And
Now,
Mufasa also did have the Christmas corridor.
yes.
It opened, December 15th around then, and then couple of weeks later, you're talking Christmas through New Year's.
Yes.
That helped the legs. It was leggy in January for sure, but Christmas ain't next week. It ain't next week. And Easter
sure
ain't Christmas. And Easter is not Christmas.
It sure ain't. Okay, number 6.
And spring break doesn't really help this movie that much. Well, I guess spring break, is that coming up? Are kids about to go on break?
Kids are always on break. I'm walking around the city. I see kids out on the street at all times of day. I don't think they ever go to school.
Right. And you ask them, why are you here?
Why are you here?
And they just say on break.
On break, yeah. And then they're like, why aren't you working? I'm like, I'm on break.
You're on break.
So let's do Alto Knights.
Okay.
Now, first up, how's the community feeling about this? Your community, the Italian community. Speak for them. Speak for all of them.
So our big feeling or take on Alto Knights is forget about it. And we are trying to forget about it and trying to move on from this. And I think this is going to be one of those things, or some things in the community you just don't talk about. That you sweep under the rug. That is what's going on here.
Omerta.
Like a old Italian grandma sweeping in front of the house, like a grandpa sweeping the leaves from the sidewalk into the street. You're sweeping this one under the rug. And this is full Omerta, code of silence. You do not speak about Alto Knights. And if someone is talking about Alto Knights, especially outside of the community, and you catch them doing that, you dig a hole.
Okay. Wow.
And that is where the community is right now. If you start talking about Alto Knights, especially to outsiders, someone who's not one of us, it's time to dig a hole.
Wow. Okay.
You do not talk about Alto Knights. It's Bobby, and we are not going to disrespect Bobby. Barry Levinson, we do not give a shit about. Nick Pileggi, we have to be reminded that he co-wrote Goodfellas. We assume Marty wrote every word of it himself, if we even think of the existence of screenwriters. But we're happy for Nick Pileggi, and so we're not going to disparage him. So we have got to not speak about this. This is a big forget about it in the community.
So in his write-up, Anthony D. is for Demented about Disney, Alessandro, wrote that the urban legend is that Zaslav, he greenlit this because he's buddies with the Pix producer, Irvin Winkler.
Well, we haven't mentioned him in all of the.
He's a big time producer.
Big time producer, produced the Rocky movies. I mean, he's currently on Sly Stallone's shit list, which is a long list. And
the longest of lists.
It's got various categories, Sly Stallone shit list.
I would love to see that. Release the list.
Release the Sly Stallone shit list. I mean, the shit list would also possibly cost Stallone that Best Supporting Actor for Creed. So he's on the category in Sly Stallone's shit list where he's had bad movie dealings with him.
Yes.
There's another Sly Stallone shit list that we won't go into how you get on that list.
Well, those are people he's actually...
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Glass tables
involved.
So Irwin Winkler, he produced the Rocky movies. He won't give Sly Stallone the rights to them. Sly Stallone's like, hey, I wrote it.
Yeah.
I own it. He also, different than the state saying, I wrote it, you watch it.
Yeah.
Or you wrote it.
Well, but he is like, watch it. I wrote that.
Yeah.
I wrote it. So watch it.
So that's who Irwin Winkler is. Huge producer. Got to be in his 90s. So old.
Yeah, he's super old. Well, also, Nicholas Pileggi is Zaslav's neighbor.
Wow. Okay. In
the Hamptons.
In the Hamptons. Okay. So
that's good for you. That's good for you that he's living in the Hamptons.
Yeah, we could get there.
Yeah, you could
get there. We could get led into those circles.
It's like, it's a hope for you.
Yeah, I could get myself to the Hamptons. No, I blend. I blend.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that is so. This I love that there's an urban legend already about Alto Knights.
Yeah.
That it has moved up to urban legend situation, like it's a pop rocks, it will explode
Now,
situation.
you have said on this show, I mean, you're done being loyal. You were loyal to Love Hurts,
Yes,
the movie that you drafted,
and it killed me,
and it killed you, and you said, no more loyalty for me.
Yeah,
So when you look at Zaslav, who is not a loyal person,
no,
right?
well, other than to Dr. Pimple Popper.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
he'll go to the grave with that man.
so not loyal to Clint,
Not loyal to Clint.
but Irwin, he's loyal to.
Irwin Winkler.
Irwin,
Yeah.
Pileggi, loyal to him.
Mm-hmm.
I guess he picks and chooses who he's loyal to,
Mm-hmm.
obviously. Like, I guess we all do.
Not loyal to Bugs Bunny.
Yeah, yeah.
That'll cost him.
That'll cost him. But what do you think of this idea that this movie was made out of loyalty?
Is it made out of loyalty? Okay, I push back on that because it seems like it was made...
You reject this hypothesis.
I reject this hypothesis that it's about loyalty.
Okay.
I think it's proximity. I think Zaslav is most into things that are near him.
Mm-hmm.
So Clint Eastwood, it's not a matter of loyalty. It's that Clint is not going to hang out in the Hamptons. And God bless Nick Pileggi, got out of Brooklyn, made it to the Hamptons.
Mm-hmm.
He's near powerful morons like a David Zaslav, and it paid off. He got to write a $50 million budgeted movie at 98 years old.
Yeah.
Good for him. But that's proximity. And I think that's a difference. It's not like Nick Pileggi and Irwin Winkler in the past had saved Zaslav's life or done something for him, and now Zaslav's paying it off.
They weren't in the service together.
They weren't exactly. They were not in the army together. Could you imagine David Zaslav
I can't.
serving his country?
I can imagine his back running away from the beach at Normandy.
Yes, 100. Get me back on that.
Get me back on the
Get
boat.
me on the boat. Yeah. So this is not these guys saved his life in Nam, and now he's paying it off by budgeting their movie. They all go to the same restaurant in the Hamptons.
Yeah.
And he's like, that's a great idea. Why is it a great idea? Because they told it to me at my favorite restaurant.
Yeah.
That is 3 blocks from my mansion.
I was full of shrimp scampi at the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Tell me any idea when I'm full of shrimp scampi, and I'm going to be like, yes,
Right.
That's the greatest idea I've ever heard.
Right. He's bloated. He's drunk on wine
Mm-hmm.
because they kept filling up. Listen, Irwin Winkler, man's been around 105, 110 years,
Mm-hmm.
produced Oscar-winning movies. He knows all the tricks. He was filling Zaslav's wine glass up, gulp, gulp, gulp. Yeah. Let me tell you about my idea here. First, let me fill the wine glass up. Zaslav was drunk. He's bloated on shrimp scampi.
Mm-hmm.
They walked him home.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, oh, no, we'll walk you home. You can't make it home on your own.
Here, sign this.
Sign this.
Mm-hmm.
What am I signing? Oh, don't worry about it. And there you go. He signed the document that greenlit Alto Knights for $50 million. Again, it's not loyalty. It's proximity. It's drunkenness. It's bloat.
Mm-hmm.
And they got him home. They put him on the couch, put a little blanket up on like it's a romantic comedy, and they left with a greenlit contract from Warner Brothers. Good on Irwin Winkler. That's what it is to be a producer.
He's 93 years old.
Irwin Winkler.
Born in 1931.
Wow.
He produced the first movie he produced came out in 1967.
Wow.
Yep.
And he still knows all the tricks. This is listen, Alto Knights, huge bomb. $3 million on a $50 million budget.
I'm shocked it made 3. frankly.
Yeah, this was an overperformer versus where we were last weekend.
Mm-hmm.
This may be Irwin Winkler's greatest producing job. And this is a
Yes.
guy who's won Best Pictures. He's produced Rocky. I'm sure you go
The
through
Right Stuff.
Yeah, just iconic movies.
He produced Goodfellas.
He produced Goodfellas. And you know what? As a producer, Alto Knights is a bigger accomplishment than producing Goodfellas. Greatest movie ever made, Goodfellas. But getting Goodfellas greenlit, it's Scorsese in his prime, De Niro in his prime, Wise Guys, a hot book. It all makes sense. Sure, you could get that greenlit in 1989, 1990.
Mm-hmm.
Getting Alto Knights greenlit off of a drunken, bloated, you have to keep filling David Zaslav up with shrimp scampi and wine in order to get this greenlit. That is the pinnacle of Irwin Winkler's producing career.
That's why if he's not already, on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, which he probably is, he should be for this.
Yeah.
People should be the tourists should be walking over his star, dripping ice cream cones on his star.
Yes.
Because of the Alto Knights.
Yes. Yeah. Irwin Winkler, this has earned him the star. Because to get this greenlit in 2025 is just the ultimate feat of producing.
Yep.
Does this, we knew this was going to bomb before it opened. But now that we're here, and Alto Knights has made $3 million opening weekend, does this cause anyone at the highest levels of power have to take stock about what's going on with David Zaslav? Like, I don't know the power structure there, if there are a board of directors that collectively could oust this man, judge this man, or if he is above the law. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Totally. But you would think in a company, it's not like David Zaslav founded Warner Brothers. So I assume there is some kind of ability with other investors to have some kind of judging ability on him. Does Alto Knights change anything? That he got fed shrimp scampi, Irwin Winkler got him drunk, got him to green like this. It opens to $3 million. Do you think anything changes because of this movie?
No. I think Mickey 17 bomb. This is a bomb. They've got some stuff on the slate that is worrisome. That's at least big budgeted. I think it's going to be a culmination. I think you don't pull the trigger yet because you want to have everything play. Then you pull the trigger on this guy, right? You want to see all the bombs because you don't want the new person to be at the head of the ship when there's more bombs ahead.
Well, what is left for Warner Brothers that is troublesome? They've got the PTA Leo movie,
which moved to September.
And I get that
it's a big budget.
It's a big budget PTA, but that movie's not going to be terrible. It's probably going to be an Oscar movie. I don't think that is going to be something that you bring in a new person and they're going to be so upset about that movie coming out on their watch. Is a Minecraft movie Warner Brothers?
Mm-hmm. That's the next one.
Man, listen, for the fantasy league, obviously that's my big swing. I need this to be Mario. Will it be? Probably not, but I need that. Warner Brothers has to go all in on the Minecraft movie, and we'll get into it in a few weeks. But that cannot bomb.
Mm-hmm.
That cannot bomb.
It's gonna. But here's the thing.
Jesus.
Minecraft movie, Sinners.
Okay.
Which, listen, we want that to succeed, but there's a chance that it totally tanks.
It is, but
because it is a huge swing.
Horror is a safer genre. Alto Knights. Alto Knights is a movie. I know gangster is a genre, but Alto Knights is a movie that just from the jump. Again, there was no version of this that would not be disaster. Sinners is at least a big horror movie with a star that people like.
Is it all? But here's okay. I think it's if you watch that trailer, there's
Horror
a
action.
lot going on there.
There's a lot going on.
It's sort of a lot, and who knows if it becomes an Us, then that's huge, right?
Right.
But if it's just I guess
It's a risk for sure.
It's a risk. So
It's a
you've
risk.
got Minecraft, then Sinners, both in April, coming off of these two bombs.
Yep.
You're in trouble, right? Then Accountant 2, which is going to do what it's going to do.
Yeah.
Final Destination Bloodlines, small.
Yeah.
F1, which they're only distributing.
Because F1 is an Apple movie.
But they're distributing it.
Okay.
So that's not really good.
Yeah.
But then you got Superman. Superman's a big one. If Superman eats shit, then this is bad.
That's the end.
Because then you're going to have
the end.
Minecraft. Okay, this is a world where Minecraft and Sinners underperform.
Oh.
Sinners full-on bombs,
Oh.
right? And then Accountant 2, Final
Destination
Destination doesn't move the needle. F1 doesn't matter because you're just distributing it.
Yeah.
Superman totally eats garbage.
If that happens, then that's the movie industry. If this is the scenario in which Minecraft bombs, I mean, Sinners, I don't think is as important to the movie industry, but Minecraft,
it's a big budget.
Minecraft bombing and Superman bombing.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on in that universe.
Mm-hmm.
And definitely at that point, Zaslav, if there are people who have the ability to pull the trigger, they're pulling it after Superman. If that movie opens to $43 million, then its holes are being dug for Zaslav. But I think you could dig the hole now after Alto Knights, because again,
we've said this before. There's always a use for a hole.
Yeah.
Like there's a body
it.
just waiting that we don't even know yet deserves a hole.
Right, dig it.
Just dig a hole. Because you're going to be happy that you already dug it.
So this Alto Knights bombing, we talked about it last week. I think I'm still on the same page where this doesn't matter for anyone other than Zaslav.
No.
It doesn't. De Niro will still get the same offer for his next movie that he would have gotten anyway.
He's sort of bulletproof.
He's bulletproof.
Levinson's going to go back to HBO movies.
Yeah. I mean, Deborah Messing, this is huge for. Do you know she is second billed in this movie? If you don't bill De Niro twice, she's the next billed actor in this movie. So for her, this is fantastic. How long has it been since Deborah Messing has been top billed in a huge studio movie?
A long time.
A long time. She was the wedding. J-Lo was the wedding planner. She was the wedding date, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Deborah Messing's the wedding date where she takes someone to a wedding and then fucks them.
Yep, that's the plot.
So I think Alto Knights is that rare case of movie bombing to this level that doesn't hurt anyone. Just Snow White, going back to that, you hate to even ponder this because she's a young, possible rising star. Is this a problem for Rachel Zegler?
Yeah, because there's so few leading parts for any female actor.
Right.
So when you look at something like, Anya Taylor-Joy in Furiosa, that hurts her.
Yeah.
Because you don't get that many shots. So this is bad for Zegler.
And I think Anya Taylor-Joy is way more bulletproof than Rachel Zegler.
I wouldn't at all say bulletproof.
Well, not bulletproof. Bullet resistant.
Durable.
Yeah, and durable. I think she's getting more bites at the apple to bring it back to Snow White than I think Rachel Zegler is going to get.
Yeah.
And I think Anya Taylor-Joy in the press gets zero blame for Furiosa bombing. Furiosa. Zegler's going to get tagged with being a reason why Snow White underperformed.
Absolutely.
It just is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
We're not going to do it here at the BO Boys.
No.
We're fully putting it on the lack of imagination in casting the 7 companions.
Yeah.
But I do think that's going to be the Snow White issue for her. Is she will get that tag around the press, around Hollywood.
That
and
this is the reason.
Is Gal Gadot finished?
I think she's finished.
Like, aside from they'll probably do a Red Notice straight to Netflix sequel, which maybe they don't even put her in that. The Rock might be like, just leave me alone. Just don't. Yeah, so she's probably finished.
I feel like she's done, yeah.
Yeah. What a precipitous fall from 5 years ago. It's probably longer than that Wonder Woman movie everyone liked came out. That might have been like 20.
5 years ago was when the sequel came out that people didn't like.
Right.
Yes. I think Wonder Woman
is like
was
2017.
2017.
Okay. Yeah.
That's an eon ago.
Yeah. And the fact that she's never been in any other movie that is even remotely liked other than that Wonder Woman movie.
Well,
or she was in the Fast movies. But since then, since her breakout, she's never been in anything anyone's like. She's never been in a viral YouTube video that people haven't hated. Yeah, so that's the Alto Knights. Any other new releases that are worth? Well, let's just quickly touch on number 2. We called it Black Bag with a solid hold. It only dropped 40%, 42%,
42%.
Good hold. Obviously, the problem is it opened so low that the hold still results in a second weekend that's not that much. But it is good to see that the word of mouth seems to have meant something.
Yeah. I mean, the Compact Critic, Chris Klemmer, came on and, sung the praises of this movie, got you and your wife to go, got one of our, longtime friends, longtime listener, co-host,
past and future
guest host.
Yeah. She's the Gary Shandling of our show.
Yeah. She went to see it, loved it.
Yep.
So I'm gonna see this movie. I gotta bag it.
You got
as we call it now.
But do not double bag
it because that doesn't do anything.
It
makes it worse.
It makes it worse. Don't double kids.
Don't double bag it.
We're talking about Black Bag. Do not double bag it.
No. But I'm gonna bag it. Yeah. So I'm excited to bag it, and that means something. I mean, if they're committed to keeping this in theaters, I think this could end up being sort of a sleepery hit
if
they're committed.
And we've talked about PVOD over the years, and yes, it's premium pricing, $20, but Black Bag is the type of movie that it hits PVOD, and I think that kills the theatrical run, because that audience, that middle-aged and up audience, when they get the chance to just buy it and watch it on TV instead of having to go to the theater, they will take that. This is one, and, this is a big talking point for our boy, the ace Eric Weber. He's out there all the time saying theatrical exclusivity, Windows. He wants to be made he calls it the Windows police of Hollywood. He thinks that he should be hired for millions of dollars a year to police Windows. Sure, let the ace police Windows. That is a big problem for a movie like Black Bag, is if there is not a window and this is on PVOD in a week or two, then we will see it fully drop in theaters.
Sean Baker. Winner of 4 Oscars?
4 Oscars. Yep. Same as Walt Disney. He's our new Sean Baker, director of Red Rocket, is the new Walt Disney.
Said Windows. He goes up there and he uses his precious time as an Oscar winner to say Windows.
Yep.
Theatrical and Windows.
Yep.
So that's all you need to know.
Yep.
I mean, when Sean Baker and the ace Eric Weber are on the same page about something.
Yes.
That's a page you should all be on.
Yes. You could disagree with either of them on lots of topics.
But
when they're both agreeing, then it should be total agreement
The
from the rest of
Venn,
the country.
yeah, the Venn is you should be in that Venn.
Yes.
That overlap of the Venn.
Yes, the Venn of Sean Baker, Oscar winner, and the ace Eric Weber, host of Midnight Movie Talk.
Mm-hmm.
If they agree, you gotta agree.
We need to get the ace back on.
We gotta get the ace back on. Now, I mean, here's the thing: we're in studio way more often, and we could still have guests in remote, of course.
Yeah,
I would love to have the ace
in
right
studio.
over here in studio.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Just yelling and screaming about Windows and just
Yeah.
go off, King.
Mm-hmm.
We would just let him go. We would go out, have a smoke, let him go,
Come back.
back. He's still going on about Windows. It's great radio,
Mhm.
great YouTubing. So yeah, we've got it. We got to get him back on. So Black Bag, I think that's going to be the story. Is one more weekend. Let's see if it holds again. The Compact Critic last weekend, he sold a lot of tickets. Has there been any? I think that's the thing. Is this movie needs to get more big name supporters like the Compact Critic Chris Klemmer. You know, like I'd love to see. Has Tarantino talked about this movie yet?
What is Lights Camera Jackson saying?
Right. This is the thing in which a Siskel and Ebert, when they were at the height of their powers and able to get an audience for My Dinner with Andre and Hoop Dreams and movies like that, they would be, I think, at the forefront of Black Bag. 2 thumbs up, don't double bag it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that would have had an effect. And yes, the Compact Critic, he's the closest we have to Siskel and Ebert now. There's just a lack of having someone fully at that level of a nationally syndicated TV show that could talk up Black Bag and have all the adults in the country then decide we've got to go see this.
Mm-hmm. I agree. There's definitely a lack. There's a vacuum there.
Yeah. National syndication, which I mean, that's again, B.O. Boys should be on 3 hours a day, morning drive time radio, and I think nationally syndicated television on a Sunday night.
So let's just quickly wrap up a few newbies that we didn't actually get to talk about a lot on the preview.
Sure.
I don't think we have to talk about them a lot here because they are both DOA.
Okay.
One of them actually is in enough theaters that the Compact Critic, speak of the devil, is going to have to see it in theaters. Ash,
yes,
the Flying Lotus film starring perennial TV star Aaron Paul.
Mm-hmm. Does he say bitch and Ash? He must say it.
Of course he does. That's all he ever does.
Yeah. People love it. They got the T-shirts. It's Bazinga, and it's Aaron Paul's face with bitch on it.
Yeah.
And those are the 2 big T-shirts.
1,136 theaters, so meets the criteria.
Yep, Klemmer's got to see it.
Klemmer's got to see Ash. And then he was saved from number 15. Briarcliff Entertainment's Magazine Dreams, $700,000 in only 815 theaters. Magazine Dreams. The
dreams are dead.
The dreams are dead. The dream is dead.
You're upset about this. You were a big supporter of this film.
I wouldn't say that.
Okay.
I would never say that.
Okay.
I'm upset that you said that on my behalf.
Mm-hmm.
I do think hearing the reviews of this movie, it's intriguing. It did intrigue me.
Okay.
I will not go to theaters to see this movie though.
Okay.
Because I don't. There's so many other movies I could see, right? I mean, Black Bag I got to see.
You got it. Don't double bag it, but you got to see it.
I would see The Day the Earth Blew Up over this because, of course, Ketchup. We're all in on their plot.
Yes.
Their scam.
Yes.
To take over and steal the Looney Tunes.
Yep.
So anything I can do to make that happen.
That could be the end of Zaslav, even before Superman.
If you're drunk on wine, bloated on shrimp scampi,
Mhm.
and all of a sudden you wake up the next morning and Bugs is leaning up against the Ketchup Entertainment logo.
Yep.
That's your ass.
Yeah.
It has to be.
And you've got a carrot drawn over your forehead, but it's a dick.
Yeah.
And Bugs did it.
Yeah. It's a carrot with balls.
A carrot with balls. Yeah. Bugs drew that on his drunken face.
Yeah.
The night before. Yeah.
Then you know what's up, Doc. He's out of here.
Yeah. So
But
there's other movies you would see before Magazine Dreams.
absolutely. But I mean, I gotta say, I mean, it sounded interesting, and
What's interesting about it to you? Is it you're a magazine guy. We're both print magazine generation.
do you not ever dream of you're in, you're in your bed,
Right.
Right.
Okay.
you're sleeping, and you're dreaming,
Right.
and in that dream, you go to your mailbox, and what's in that mailbox?
Mm-hmm.
There's new magazines.
There's new magazines.
There's
yeah.
thick
Double
EWs.
Yeah.
There's details. There's a premiere magazine.
Yeah.
And they're all thick as hell.
Stuff.
Stuff is in there. Yeah,
Yeah.
all the lad mags. You've got
Yeah.
your new mag, and they all came the same day. So
Yeah.
Okay, this day is going to be
SI is in
magazine
there.
day. SI's in there,
Yeah.
and then you got all your magazines. You got your stack. You're like, I'm ready for the day.
Yeah.
Knock, knock, knock on the door. Who is it? It's the UPS man. What does the UPS man have? He's got your football phone.
Yeah.
And in there is best sports bloopers,
Yeah.
VHS.
Yeah.
And you're like, so I'm not leaving the house for a effing week
Yeah.
because that's what I got. I got all this, magazines to read. I got my football phone in case anybody needs to reach me. I'm taking it off the hook.
And
now.
then to make the dream even bigger,
Yeah.
guy in a trench coat with someone in a sidecar pulls up,
Uh-huh.
opens your mailbox, slides in Swank. Knew she was Swank.
Yeah.
Because that's how that gets delivered.
Mhm.
It's a bicycle with a man in a sidecar.
Man in a sidecar. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, of course, we've all had that dream. We've all had that glorious dream and then woke up to the reality of, I guess all my shit is on my phone.
Right.
And I guess I have to, and listen, Substack, subscribe to our Substack.
Subscribe to our
But I
Substack.
guess I have to just look at all these Substacks.
Yeah.
No offense to Substack. It's the best we have, but it ain't print.
Oh, listen. We
Spin
are all,
Magazine, Rolling Stone, those are in the stack too. Sorry, I forgot about the music magazines I
Yes,
love.
Of course, the B.O. Boys Substack, great Substack. Of course, everyone here is morally obligated to subscribe to Scott Mendelson's The Outside Scoop.
Yeah.
Great Substack. You owe this man a living. Subscribe to his Substack. But the dream, of course, is you open your mailbox and there's B.O. Boys magazine in there.
Yeah.
And next to it is the Outside Scoop magazine. Of
Yeah.
course. That is what we want. We'll take what we get.
And they all smell like CK1.
Yeah. And
My mailbox just reeks of CK1.
all the scratch and sniffs are in there.
Yeah.
So that is the dream. I get that. But I don't know if that is what this movie is about.
It's not.
I don't think it's about just Jonathan Majors going down to a mailbox to then read all the lad mags, all of the music magazines, all of the movie magazines from the mid-90s. I don't think it's about that.
I thought it was
haven't
about
delved much into the plot of this.
Oh, I thought it was about like a scam to get subscriptions to all his favorite magazines in the 90s. That's not what this movie is about.
I don't think I'd have to delve.
It's not about
a little
scamming
deeper.
a Blender subscription.
I'd love to know, but also I feel like based on the box office,
You don't need to know.
It don't need to know. It wouldn't be worth investigating past what we already know.
Okay. Well, maybe I'll stick to my magazine dreams.
Yes. I would love to see your magazine dreams turned into a film.
Yeah.
Just
But here's the problem. Now
title
it'd
thing.
be a limited series.
Yeah. Yeah. They would do this as a 8-episode Hulu series.
Yeah.
Clayton Gummer's magazine dreams.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't think that we will need to talk about that movie again. I don't think the hold will be great. It'll probably just hemorrhage theaters. Those 820 theaters, I would think by next weekend, we're talking about that being in like 200 theaters at best.
Can we, and then just quickly, we got to talk, because nobody else in the podcast realm is talking about this truly disastrous opus.
Oh, okay.
So,
What is the drop on that?
okay. Pat, this is a Morbius drop.
Are you kidding?
Number 17, opus.
Wow.
$282,000, down 72%.
Wow.
Hemorrhaged theaters. It lost 503 theaters.
Wow.
Screen average, $224.
No.
$1.8 million total
Wow.
after 2 weekends.
Wow.
No mention of this on the big picture, right?
I mean, that's their omerta.
That's their omerta.
Yeah, they've taken a vow of silence on speaking the truth on.
They had the
Opus.
gentleman who wrote and directed this movie. They interviewed him and did not talk at the top of the show. They talked about box office, and they did not mention how poorly that movie did.
Yeah, I
know there's friends, and friends are friends, but
It's
you're also a cultural critic. You're somebody who needs to be talking about those things, and you're not, and that's unfair.
But it's the Alto Knights thing. If you're in the community, you take the vow of silence, and I think that is what they're taking on that movie, in that community, in the former magazine writers community. You don't talk about Opus and its box office. I listened to not one, but 2 different podcasts hosted by the great Brett Arnold, past and future guest, our chief horror correspondent here on the BO Boys. He talked about it on the New Flesh podcast. Of course, that's the mothership for Brett.
Roger
and his Roger and Me, or Roger and Ebert podcast. He reviewed Opus. 2 different formats, 2 different co-hosts.
Were they different?
2 different compelling reviews. Obviously, on New Flesh, he goes deep dive with spoilers, 20, 30-minute conversation on Opus.
Mm-hmm.
He hated that movie. And he is the horror guy.
Did he hated.
Hate. I mean,
How many
that
hates was it?
Opus, it was about 7 or 8 hates for Ebert's book. Maybe Opus could be the North for Brett's eventual first book of reviews. But if that community is not just disliking that movie, but he's really pointing to that movie. And I think Opus is really going to become a symbol of, he called it the A24 template. And Opus, for as little money and awareness as this movie will have, as a little cultural impact, I do think there will be some impact of Opus being a movie that really opens people's eyes up to A24 and their terrible horror attempts.
Yes.
And as he talked about it, it's a movie where the horror elements don't come into play until late in the third act. It is a long slog up to that point.
They bamboozle you. They try to bamboozle you.
And clearly, and again, we haven't seen this. We're not critics, but Brett is. And go listen to him talk about on the New Flesh how Opus is a movie where it's clear the people making it didn't really care about the horror stuff. That is just there to allow this to have a reason to be a movie.
Yes.
And I think audiences are done with that. And I think finally audiences have sniffed out this is what A24 does. And Opus is kind of maybe going to be a turning point for, are these movies that A24 should be making anymore? It could be the Heaven's Gate for the A24 fake horror movie.
Wow. I mean, I would love to do an episode. This is what I would love, Pat, to have some of our distinguished guests on together.
Okay.
In a panel discussion about A24 and its future. Because I'm very much about the fact that they are destroying this brand. This brand that was strong, they are destroying it. Looking at some of the stuff that's coming out, of course, Death of a Unicorn is going to eat dirt. The Materialists.
Preview, and he'll talk about in his shows, not hearing good things from our chief horror correspondent who has seen that film.
No.
So listen to his shows this week for his full reviews, but Death of a Unicorn seems DOA.
Mm-hmm. You've got The Materialist, which is the Celine Song's follow-up to Past Lives.
Yeah.
That movie looks terrible. A24 is burnishing their brand, destroying their brand in a way that is, I don't want to say unprecedented, but it's worrisome.
Yeah.
To me. And I'd love to have a lot of people here to talk about that.
Yeah. This should be, do you remember, and of course you remember this, the episode of Siskel and Ebert when Eyes Wide Shut came out, and they had, it wasn't in the theater set, they were around a table, and it was I think 5 or 6 person panel with Roger, with Gene, other prominent critics talking about Eyes Wide Shut, talking about Stanley Kubrick.
Yeah.
That is what we need here to break down. It needs to be us, the ace Eric Weber,
Brett
of the New Flesh, of course Mendelsohn, and I think Podcast Jesus, Kirk Minahan.
Yeah.
All in studio.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a big coordination effort here, but I think that is the round table. We need to figure out post Death of a Unicorn and Opus.
Yeah.
What is going on with A24?
Yeah. And I misspoke. I said burnishing. Burnishing is positive. It's polishing.
Positive.
They're trying to polish turds is what they're trying to do.
Yeah,
that's what I was trying to get across.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Burnishing turds is not as catchy of a phrase. That didn't really make it as a catchphrase.
No, burnishing turds did not.
Yeah.
So yeah, Pat, is there anything else this weekend that you need to talk about?
No, I think we've covered it. So next weekend is going to be, we'll get our preview episode up in a few days, because it's Last Supper and nothing major coming out next weekend. I think next episode
Last Supper already came out.
No, not Last Supper, but there was
Chosen Last Supper.
Chosen
Okay,
Last Supper.
you're right.
Yeah.
It's Death of a Unicorn.
Death of a Unicorn.
A Working Man.
And right, it should have been National Lampoon's Working Stiff.
Yeah. The Woman in the Yard.
So it's another batch of smaller movies. We'll talk about next episode. The theaters are just begging for a sure thing, and they ain't getting one next weekend. So email us, theboboyspodcast@gmail.com. Let us know your boots on the ground reporting. Are there any, in next episode, we'll go through the mailbag. So we've got a few backed up. Send us more emails, theboboyspodcast@gmail.com. On the weekend preview episode, we will go through and lance that engorged mailbag. So send us those. Of course, 5 stars in Apple Podcasts. Put in a comment there of what we should be eating in studio on the YouTube episodes here. We did get a YouTube comment saying we've gotten several immediately saying that we need to be eating on air. That seems to be very popular. We got one from the great Dylan, who commented that if we had an episode where we were eating chicken and Mama Stango is back on, that would be an all-time episode.
Wow.
So that's a combo that maybe we need to make happen soon.
So is it
maybe
hot?
she makes us the food.
She's cooking.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Although she has retired from cooking.
Yeah.
A while ago. She's
Why make her do that?
Yeah. She's been retired from cooking.
Okay.
I think at my dad's funeral, one of her quotes was, "I've made my last sandwich." So
that's a powerful statement.
it's a powerful statement. Yeah.
Yeah.
To say,
Living out loud. Just living out loud.
Yeah.
I love it.
So email us, of course. Watch us on YouTube. We are YouTubers. Hey guys. So the YouTube channel is where it's at. We love people who listen to the podcast, but you're only getting half the story. You're not seeing all this. You got to go to the YouTube channel to see that. See us, of course. I mean, you're seeing us taking sips from the mug. We're back on the job, so there you go.
Yeah.
So watch the YouTube channel. And, of course, follow us on social media at the BO Boys Pod, on TikTok, on Instagram. Wannabe VP of Interns, Christopher, killing it with the vertical videos. And this guy's making moves all over the place. So he's doing great. So, and would Christopher be on that panel?
I don't think so.
All right. So then, of course, thank you, Christopher. And I think, and the Substack, of course. We wish it was a monthly magazine, but for right now, it is the BO Boys Substack. New article just went up on Snow White, on these 7 companions. We gave some more possibilities. The Paisans. We talked about in this article, you got to read the Substack article because we do raise the possibility. Why wasn't it Dorf? Why was Dorf not considered to be in this Snow White movie? So you got to read the Substack to read that article. A lot of late breaking news there. And that is it, Clayton. That is all I got. I'm done.
Pat, I finished.
Perfect.
And you've said it all.
Yep.
I don't think there's anything left to be said.
Great. So I can leave the studio now?
Except for, until next time, we'll smell you at the box office. Nailed it. Hey, guys.